And Rahu rules all things artificial. It's artificial intelligence. So when you engage with any kind of Rahu thing, it will create Rahu in your life as well. And Rahu is a chaos agent. So AI can become extremely dangerous, but it can also be leveraged in an amazing way. We're now using DNA technology, where you are understanding that these people existed much before the Western systems. So in a way, like, I'm able to use AI to understand something that I intuitively know. And so I get the birth information, I look it up, and I say, oh, you know what? You're actually a Vata, you're a creative soul. And you've been hiding that creativity, and you tried to become this executive, but you've forgotten your creative soul. And they burst into tears. If it's Saturn's slow moving, Saturn likes it when you walk. Saturday is Saturn's day. If Saturn is the ruler of your chart, go on a walk for 30 minutes every Saturday. Simple thing. Make that lifestyle shift. And that activates the energy. And little by little, it starts to open up opportunities. They meet the right connection. When you are soul aligned, the right connections, right opportunities, right meetings, they all start to happen. Is your past life in the past? Or is it happening right now? Or is it going to happen in the future? That is even not understood by the human mind. But the Vedic system understood that. And there are very specific rituals and remedies to take care of those things. So if you...
Hi, this is Akanksshaa. If you're new here, please subscribe to my channel. If you resonate with me, please like, comment, and share. Welcome to Multidimensional Soul Podcast and a Talk Show. We have with us today Vish Chatterji from the US. Vish is a renowned Vedic astrologer, a Vedic teacher, an executive coach, and a fellow Chopra teacher and a Chopra coach. A very warm welcome, Vish, on Multidimensional Soul Talk Show and a podcast. Namaste, and it's an honor to have you here.
Namaste. Thank you, Akanksshaa. Thank you to all of you that are tuning in and watching. I'm honored to be here and very excited for our conversation.
Yeah, same here. This is part 2 of a 2-part conversation. If you have not watched part 1, then we highly recommend that you watch that. The link for that is provided in the video description. So, ancestor definitely practices continuing that is beneficial. At the same time, there are certain patterns which are not so good in all the lineages, that there is ancestral healing that is required. And because of our DNA, we inherit those things. Also, we have certain wounding that is from past lives, as in at the quantum level, there's no such thing as past and future. Everything is happening at the same time. So these also have impact on our current lifetime. So how does astrology, Vedic astrology specifically, deal with all of that? What is your understanding about the quantum physics, understanding that everything is happening at the same time, whether it's past, present, future? And then how does Vedic astrology deal with that?
So in Vedic astrology, Rahu and Ketu are the markers of ancestry and karma, like from ancestors specifically, and also the markers of past lives and future lives, right? And so when we take form in this human body, we have two different lineages that we come from. One lineage is the blood lineage, the DNA, mother, father, grandfathers, paternal, maternal, that sort of DNA lineage that makes our body. But we also have a lineage of our reincarnation cycle. Who were you last life before that? Who are those parents? So even when in India, when we do the Tarpana Shraddha rituals, we name all of the ancestors of our bloodline, but we also name the ancestors of our reincarnation line. Any father I've ever had in any lifetime, any mother I've had in any lifetime, any grandfather, paternal in any life, any friend I had, any brother, sister, right? So we have to understand that we're a product of both of those. And when we're in human form, we can really muck things up, because the ego is there. So we can do horrible things. And all those horrible things we do, They stay within the lineage of all those descendants. When we leave the human body and we go into the soul realm, the Pitriloka, then we become all about love and goodness and happiness. And you probably experienced this. I'm saying this intellectually. And so you almost, in a way, shed off all this good and bad kind of behavior. You just become pure love connected to the divine. But your actions are now showing up in the DNA of the person that's alive. So us as human beings, we almost have a responsibility to fix the karmas of everybody before us and hopefully everybody in front of us. So they say in yoga tradition and in Vedic astrology tradition, as a human being, if I clean up my karma and I clean up something, I'm taking care of it 7 generations prior and 7 generations into the future. So we all have an opportunity to heal our ancestors and progeny both ways, and incarnation timeline as well, both. So that's why the more we start to do goodness in our lives, we trend towards sattvic existence. We do yoga, we meditate, we eat properly, we take care of people around us. We can fix the problems of our ancestors and future generations. So first step is understand who your ancestors were. Know who they are. Like at a minimum, do you know the names of your grandfather, grandmother, great-grandmother? Do you know their names? Know them. Do you know who they were, where they lived, how did they worship, what good things they do, and what bad things did they do? And if you know something difficult that one of your ancestors did, you have the opportunity to rectify that in this human body, right? So suppose you have an ancestor that was, beating up a lot of people. This lifetime, donate to a hospital. Something like, somebody was ill-treating elderly women. Okay, go and give a donation to an elderly women shelter. Somebody was abusive to children. Okay, go support a children's cause. So you start to fix those karmas in yourself through your actions, right? If you have in your life some challenge and you can't explain it, why is this happening? I didn't do anything wrong. Why do I have this different karma? Maybe you're paying back some ancestral karma, some ancestral debt. So when you go to do these rituals, like I was in India recently, I went to Gaya, near Bodh Gaya, to do the ancestral rituals. We're basically trying to heal all of the generations' karma. And I remember the priest said, name this ancestor, this ancestor. Then we had to give pinda, the pinda dan. But then we had to do all future generations and future incarnations, and all pets. We had to also give an offering to pets. That was fascinating. You have this remote, place in India, not sophisticated place by any means, but the understanding is very sophisticated. You take care of all pets in the future and pets in the past that anyone in the family's ever had. Take care of your future generations. Take care of your future incarnations. And even if you're single and you don't want to have children, you'll be reincarnated. You're going to have a life. How do you take care of that? And maybe the progeny from that lifetime. So this understanding is like so sophisticated. Even, is your past life in the past? Or is it happening right now? Or is it going to happen in the future? That is even not understood by the human mind. But the Vedic system understood that. And there are very specific rituals and remedies to take care of those things. So if you are having ancestral challenges, if you know you had ancestral challenges, or you're having odd, unexplained challenges in your life, do some ancestral rituals. They're very powerful.
Yeah. So essentially, you are not just looking at this lifetime, but all your incarnations, past, present, and future, and also the generations that have come before you and are going to come after you.
Exactly. So we have a lot of responsibility, Akanksshaa, all of us.
Yes, all of us.
Now, if you just tune out and look at your phone all day and get on only Facebook and Instagram all day and you don't do anything meaningful, then, it's almost like, why did you come here?
Yeah, true.
Right?
True.
If you have taken a human birth, you have some responsibility. You have some work to do.
Yeah. You talked about taking human birth, and as per many traditions, the understanding is that Earth is one of the most tough or the toughest schools to take birth here and learn lessons. So, what is your understanding about life on other planets, other systems, solar systems in the universe, and Earth being a school, or incarnations on other planets, other systems, and then coming to Earth? What is your understanding as per Vedic astrology?
Other planets, other solar systems is only still in one dimension. But then there's all these different lokas and different dimensions too that also have their own solar systems, their own planets, their own systems. So the multitude of planes of existence becomes almost infinite. It becomes way beyond, right? So yes, there's going to be full existence and existence and life in a different dimension. Pitriloka, which you communicate with. Pitriloka, they're having a whole existence. Devaloka, where the devas live, they're having their own. Where the Nagas live, the Naga Loka, the Patyal, they all have their own life. So if we just think of our solar system, that's a pretty small speck. Every star possibly has a solar system. Every one of those has planets. Every one of those planets could have people living on them. But that's still only one dimension. Then you layer on the different dimensions and how many universes are there. And so the Vedic people seem to understand that we have this multitude of dimensions way beyond. But do I think about those? Do I worry about this? No, because my life is here on earth right now. I have to take care of this. I have enough responsibility and enough things to think about in this human life on this particular planet to not worry so much about those, right? Because at the end of the day, when we're here, we have some work to do. And is it tough? Yeah, it's tough, right? But, if I think of, what are the IITs in India? They're tough schools, very tough. Tough to get into, tough to get through. But when you come out the other side, what respect you get, right? Say, oh, he's IIT. Oh, she's IIT grad. So same thing here. If you do the work that you're here to do, it's tough. But on the other side, there's a lot of respect. It's like, oh, you made it through. You improved, right? Like you were born in this lifetime at this level and you did such good work. You've come to this level. Great. But what if you're born here and then you just keep going down? Like, don't do that, right? Do something. So yeah, let's enjoy life, but at the same time, have your responsibility. Take care of your health, take care of your family, take care of your loved ones, take care of your sadhana, be in awe of the divine, be in worship of the divine. Don't lose touch with the divine at the end of the day. And whatever your religion is, doesn't matter. Honor it. It's because every religion is a system to honor the divine. At the end of the day, that's true. So how many times I have somebody who's a devout Christian and they don't have an altar at home, they don't light a candle, they don't pray, they don't go to church, they don't do anything. I'm like, at least start that. Then they have some problems. So then I bring Ganesh in, right? So then they're now they have an altar. Before they had zero, but now they have Christ at least, and Ganesh is sitting there. And they say, hey, Ganesh, give me free of obstacles so I can worship Christ properly. And then they worship Christ, and then they have amazing things happen in their life. So there's no, this idea that there's only one way and I'm going to have this very tunnel vision is not good. Like at the end of the day, realize, okay, you're on Earth. You are a result of so many incarnations. There are other planets. There are other lives. There are other life forms. There's other dimensions. There's different deities. So experiment and notice like what is working for you. Try things. Don't just blindly follow. Have an open mind, right? That's the key.
Yeah. You have been talking about lokas quite a bit, and we have understanding about 7 lokas as per the Indian scriptures. And I have astral travel to Maharloka, that is the Ascendant Masters, where my son is. So I have astral traveled there. And in Autobiography of a Yogi, Paramahansa Yoganandaji talks about astral world and accessing astral realms. And the yoga is union of body and mind. It's not just asanas, as you rightly said. So having these practices where you can expand your consciousness and reach higher dimensions and higher levels. So how does Vedic astrology help in this expansion of consciousness?
Yeah, it's interesting because the word, when we say astrology, sometimes some people pronounce it as astrology. Astrology. I've heard that people say that. So there's some astral connection, obviously. Astrology. Astrology sounds astral. And so we are looking at the planets from an astral point of view anyway. At the end of the day, we're looking at the astral influences of the planets on our astral being, right? And do we sometimes need help from those other lokas, right? So, there is work being done. Like when you visited your son in that place, there's work being done. They're helping. He's not just sitting and enjoying, chai every day. He's doing some work. He's doing something. Like he's helping you, right?
Yes.
So from the astral place, they're able to give guidance. They're able to give insight. And some people, like in fact, some people they book a meeting with me, and after booking the astrology reading, they have some visit from one of the ascended masters. They have some visit, and they're given some message, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, my problem's solved." And then they email me, "I'm sorry, I have to cancel my appointment because I got the message I needed." And I'm thinking, great, fantastic, right? Good. Like something happened. Like just booking the appointment, even though I never saw you, you had some visitation that solved your problem. So some people, when they travel astrally or they connect to some of these ascended masters or angels, they get exactly the guidance they need to move forward. Some people, they're not so sensitive. And if they're not sensitive and they're not able to have those abilities or faculties, or they didn't have the life events that open those up, then they come to the astrologer, and the astrologer says, okay, let me see if from the planets I can get some guidance. And with me as an astrologer, with my sadhana, my guidance, my own connection, my own sort of intuition, I'm able to provide that guidance for that person. So guidance and intelligence and wisdom comes from many different sources. It can come from a guru. It can come from a child. It can come from a random person. It can come from another plane. It can come from another loka. It can come from an astrologer. It can come from a coach or a counselor. So many different ways, right? So the divine shows up in so many different ways, through so many different forms, through so many different lokas, right?
True. So, have you observed it, like you gave one example of synchronicity that you had? Have you observed that when you are doing a reading through Vedic astrology for somebody, and you have got guidance from some other loka?
No, I don't have such a stark, sharp perception like that.
Okay.
The guidance is coming. Is obviously like you would say, "Hey, Vish, somebody just came in your office and is as there," and I'm just thinking, I just had an idea. I just had an idea. But you, with your powers, you're like, no, somebody's there and is giving you the information.
Okay.
Right. So for me, my limited consciousness, I'm just like, okay, I had an idea. I had some inspiration, or, oh, this interesting. I was thinking about this question, and at that moment, this thing happened. And so for me, it all seems like synchronicity and coincidence.
Right.
So I'm living, I'm a normal human being. I'm trained as an engineer. I come into Jyotish. I'm adding up logically. I don't have the powers, right? But some people do, like you. And so when I have people that are my clients who have the powers, they're able to see. Like, because I have a lot of clients who are psychics and mediums, and they come to me for like a little bit of validation of what they're seeing and feeling sometimes. So from the chart, I can say, okay, this is like, they'll say, look, I got a message, but I want to know who the message is from. So then I can look at the chart and say, okay, this is the person. This is a uncle from this lifetime or whatever it is. Like I can see that and give some specificity to, sometimes they don't have that specificity. Or I'll give them an answer to something and they'll say, oh my God, I can see my father is here and he's saying the same thing.
Wow.
So somehow, like, I'm tapping in, tuning in, but I don't know. I don't have that faculty.
But you know, scientifically, because you have the science of astrology, you can actually decode from there, and then that validates the intuition or the download that your client has.
Exactly. Because, I'm trained as an engineer, so I'm always trying to root cause things. So when somebody says something, I'm like, okay, what is the root cause? And so in a collaboration, and this is the thing is, in Jyotish, a lot of times in India and even in America, Jyotishis, they just keep talking about, I see this, I see that, I do this. But I'm more like, let me ask you a question. Right. And then because I'm trained as a coach as well, coaching is asking lots of questions. So as I ask questions, I'm learning about the person, they're sharing with me, and then I'm seeing how to correlate what they're saying with what's in the chart to understand how these planets and energies are working in their lives. So then when they say I had this happen, I can explain it from a planetary framework point of view. And then I can pinpoint and say, oh, this was the message. Then I say, okay, this is the planet, or this is the message, and this is who it's from, which helps make it more tangible and actionable for the person.
Yeah, true. You talked about some time back. You talked about ego can take us to any direction, whereas our soul's calling may be something else. And you mentioned that Vedic astrology helps you course correct. So can you give some example in one of your clients' cases where this happened so that we understand it in a better way? Because many times people don't know how to find their soul's calling.
Usually the clue is I'm in this job and I'm miserable. I hate it, right? That happens all the time. And then I'll notice in the chart that look, your soul is trying to do this. It really wants to go this direction. And they'll say, oh my gosh, I remember I had this feeling that would have been good for me. Like there's always an intuition that comes that they just shove away. So we all get these little hits that come, this little sign that you should do something, and then we just push it away and go a different direction because what our parents told us to do, our conditioning of society, our peer group, our trajectory. And so it's very hard to sort of pull away from all this social conditioning. But when the astrologer looks at the chart, they can say, okay, this is really what the soul is trying to do. And how can you indulge in that energy a little bit? So what will happen is, I'll say, let's try and volunteer in that area for a little while. Keep your job. Don't upset your parents and your whole life just now, but just volunteer in this particular thing. And so they'll do a little bit of that. Like somebody was, in deep in the corporate world, and they had a very strong karma to work with children, and their job had none of that. So I said, look, just volunteer somewhere. So they volunteered at a local children's center, and they started doing a little bit of work in that, and that activates the energy. And little by little, it starts to open up opportunities. They meet the right connection. They meet, when you are soul aligned, the right connections, right opportunities, right meetings, they all start to happen. It just lines up magically, and then all of a sudden they're in it. Like, oh, there you are, right? So, yeah, I think that's, even for me coming to Jyotish, I originally was a corporate executive, but I had this yoga friend, and along the way, I, in the corporate world, people love these personality assessments. Myers-Briggs, DISC profile, Strengths Finder.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to do that. And as I started becoming a coach, I'd studied Ayurveda, and I said, oh, Ayurveda, what a great personality test. I can use Ayurvedic mind-body doshas, Ayurvata, Pitta, Kapha, as a way to understand leaders. So that's what I did. And I started coming into that. But in my chart, if I had seen an astrologer, they would say, you should study Jyotish. But I had never met an astrologer. It wasn't clear to me, and I was already put off by it. So I'm not going to go anywhere near Jyotish. So then my clients are taking this quiz to understand their dosha, and they're all cheating on the quiz because everybody wants to be Pitta in corporate America. Everybody wants to be type A, like I'm a leader. And so every quiz I was getting coming back as Pitta. So I went to my Ayurvedic mentor, and Dr. Suhas. I said, Suhasji, my clients are cheating on the quiz. Everybody's coming up Pitta, but I'm seeing in front of me it's Vata or Kapha or something else. He said, oh, Vish, just look at their birth chart. I was like, birth chart? That astrology? I don't believe in that. He said, no, look, try it out. See what happens. So maybe he knew my chart enough to say that this is something that needs to open. And I started asking here and there, hey, John, can you tell me your birth time? I want to try something. And they'd say, okay, sure. And so I get the birth information, I look it up, and I say, oh, you know what? You're actually a Vata, you're a creative soul. And you've been hiding that creativity, and you tried to become this executive, but you've forgotten your creative soul. And they burst into tears. Like, yes, I used to do this. I used to be an artist, but I repressed it all in order to, rise up the ranks. So that kept happening over and over. And then I was like, wow, I'm getting it right every single time. Must be something to this, right? So for my scientific mind, I needed that reinforcement, but it came very easily because it was aligned with my chart. And then as soon as I took the path of Jyotish, everything aligned, the right teachers, the right conferences, the right meetings, the right clients, it all just started lining up. Whereas my corporate battle was like an uphill slog the whole time. So that's another clue. If you don't see a Jyotishi, you don't need to go to anyone. Just notice what in your life is coming with ease and what is coming through a lot of struggle. If there's a lot of struggle, your ego is pushing uphill. So I went through a lot of struggle pushing the wrong direction.
Yeah. So these are the major clues. Like one is, are you struggling? Are you not happy with what you're doing? And the second is, what is happening easily? What are you passionate about? And what is coming easy? How are the synchronicities happening? And that will give you
That's right.
clue. You talked about your corporate job and especially technology perspective. If you were to talk now, AI is surging up, and there are huge controversies about whether AI should be there, AI should not be there, and especially in the US, there is a huge debate going on about artificial intelligence. Some have this conspiracy theory that artificial intelligence is kind of planned or programmed to make humans as transhumans, and slowly it is going to degenerate everything, and it will be similar to Atlantis or Lemuria, where the civilizations fell because of the advancement of the technology. What is your understanding from astrology perspective? What is going to happen? Will AI be beneficial for humanity? Will AI be harmful for humanity? How will it turn out to be?
Yeah, I mean, I think with any technology, you have to approach with some caution, and you have to use the technology with some kind of consciousness and care, right? When nuclear power was developed, nuclear bomb, it can be used in good ways to generate power for a city. It can be used in terrible ways to destroy humanity. And so, what hands are you putting that technology into, and what are the controls and regulations around it become very important. But to debate should AI be here or not is like debating should we have phones or not have phones, right? It becomes a mute point. Like when the telephone was first invented, you guys said, no, don't do that, right? When cell phones came about, you guys said, no, don't do that. But it just happens because it's fulfilling a certain need, right? So technology companies develop technologies because they see a need in the market and the market can use that technology. Now, can it also be misused? Yes, totally, right? So same thing, AI is being developed. And I actually have a lot of clients that are senior executives in the AI world. And they also struggle because they're like, I can see the benefit of the technology, but I can also see that in my company, they don't understand the ramifications. So a lot of times the people developing the technology also have no idea what it can be used, how it can be used. They're developing it and they'll see what happens in a way. So AI can become extremely dangerous, especially if we let it be unfettered and let it start controlling everything. But it can also be leveraged in an amazing way. Like, when I was trying to figure out, is the Vedic system 3,000 years old, 5,000 years old, 8,000 years old? Well, if I go to any books, it's all Western colonist perspective. And the Western British that colonized India, well, oh no, you guys don't know anything. You learned everything from the Greeks. So Vedic astrology comes from Greeks, right? Now, how do I disprove that? Because that's what all the leading scholars are saying. Then you go into AI and you start asking the question, and it's pulling up sources that I can't find of different Indian scholars who are saying, wait a minute, here's the evidence. We're now using DNA technology where you are understanding that these people existed much before the Western systems. So in a way, like I'm able to use AI to understand something that I intuitively know and understand, but it's able to get a deeper level that is unfettered with the human interference being the colonist revisionist perspective of history. So how you use it becomes important. I would say don't completely discount it and be scared and stay away. At a minimum, access it. I want to learn a certain puja technique. I'm like, how do I find a priest in India? Do they speak English? Go to AI and it's just the whole world's knowledge is there. It's like, okay, this is the right mantra to do at this time and this is the right step to do it. Wow, that's incredible, right? So there's a power there, but it has to be used with caution. From an astrology perspective, I still believe HI, human intelligence, is still the most powerful. If you're watching this interview and I was an AI bot, you won't have the same emotional connection, the same soul level shift as a human intelligence can give. So there's a place for humans. Like there's no doubt. Like we can do something completely different. We, as a human being, we have the ability to access our karmic body, our subtle body. We can understand the soul. We can have these ecstatic experiences. We can have these deep meditations. AI can never do that, and they can never do that for us. There's always going to be a role for human intelligence, always. And no matter how sophisticated AI is, you'll never match the sophistication of an Indian Himalayan guru, right? You meet one of these enlightened masters in the Himalayas, that feeling is you can't match it, not matchable, right? So there's a place. There's a place for everything, but used in the right way. Even Jyotish can be misused. Jyotish can be completely misused to completely destroy somebody's life, destroy a person's self-confidence, be used as a way to suck money out of people. It's a technology. So any technology you have to use with some amount of consciousness and caution and keep it out of the wrong hands.
True. Absolutely. Will you be able to give any predictions about this, though?
About AI? Definitely it will get out of hand because of this Rahu situation. See, Rahu rules odd technology. Rahu is the odd one. Rahu is the head cut off that wants to consume and never feel satisfied. And AI is basically a massive consumption of information, massive amount of information that's going in. And Rahu is like that. It just wants more and more. It keeps absorbing and absorbing. Rahu is never full because there's no body. Rahu is the head cut off of the serpent, and whatever it consumes is never satisfied. So AI will continue to consume and consume information and resources as well. Resources going to pull in, like, the amount of computing power that's required, electricity and cooling requirements for the servers to run AI is massive amount. It's a total Rahu energy, right? And Rahu rules all things artificial. It's artificial intelligence. So when you engage with any kind of Rahu thing, it will create Rahu in your life as well. And Rahu is a chaos agent. So those people that work in those fields, they're going to have more chaos in their life because they're working with a Rahu energy. Those of you that use a lot of artificial intelligence, you will have a lot of chaos in your life too. And I'll tell you, the few clients that I have that are in the AI world and in senior roles, they have chaos in their lives. I mean, total chaos. It's like they're possessed with Rahu. So you have to approach these things with a lot of caution. That's the thing. And now Rahu is unstoppable. It just eats and swallows and swallows. It is so powerful, it swallows up the sun. That's what happens when eclipse happens. Yeah. When you have an eclipse, it is happening because Rahu is trying to swallow up the sun, but there's no body, so the sun comes out the other side. Rahu is an eclipse point, right? So at the end of the day, the sun doesn't disappear. It gets shaded. So Rahu, even though it causes chaos, if you tune into the light, it always exists. So you can say artificial intelligence will cloud our light for some time, but the light doesn't disappear. Rahu is an agent that tries to swallow, but it's not real. It's called a Chaya Graha. It's a shadow. Yeah. Rahu is a shadow. If you look up in the sky, you can't see Rahu. So same thing with AI. It's a Rahu energy. It's a Rahu force. It cannot dim out the light. It cannot dim out the light of the divine. There's no way AI will take over the light of the divine.
Yeah, but it can create chaos, and especially as you said that US is undergoing Sadhisati. So combination of that, Saturn along with Rahu, the chaos will be huge probably for the next 5 years.
Rahu chaos we're creating, right? Like, that's the thing is, you can have the planets moving and you can say, okay, Shani is going over the moon is going to cause this. But then you yourself with your behaviors can create conditions for chaos. So the moment you do too much Rahu stuff, you're going to create chaos in your life. Even if you have a chart that is very good and powerful and strong, but you take all these actions to create more Rahu, you'll upset your whole chart. So that's the other thing is, we all have free will. The good news is we all have free will. The bad news is we all have free will. Have free will, yes. Right? So it's the good news, bad news, depends on how you choose. Now, as a nation, the US, some people, if you ask, they say we're choosing greatly. We're choosing very well. Like, many Americans say we're doing fantastic. Many Americans are completely depressed and can't get out of bed. Right? So what is the right perspective? It's not known. Still not known. It's not clear. But for sure, Mr. Trump has major Rahu Ketu in his chart. Major. He's like a Rahu Ketu agent. That's his signature. He is born on a lunar eclipse. So he's born with sun with Rahu and moon with Ketu. So he's born on a typical eclipse point. He's a massive Rahu Ketu force. So if you have a lot of Rahu Ketu in your life, you're going to think, oh, this is amazing. If you are Sattvic and you say, I don't want Rahu Ketu, I'm not sure about these, then you're going to say, oh, I'm not sure about this, right? So, but this is again a karmic reckoning that America has to go through. For whatever America has done in its past, it has to now face up, has to pay back a little bit. So that's what's going on. But yeah, Rahu Ketu is definitely, the US chart is going through Sadhisati, but we've decided to add in Rahu Ketu element to just spice it up even more. So yes, will there be chaos for time to come? Yes, I mean, we're seeing it. Will it take some years to go through? Yeah, it's not a matter of months, it's a matter of years. That's definitely. But eventually you come out of Sadhisati, and when a human comes out of Sadhisati, even though it's so miserable, at the end they look back and they say, you know what? Those are the most powerful transformative years of my life. That's what people say as human beings when they finish Sadhisati. When you finish Sadhisati, you'll say, wow, that was powerful. I matured, I evolved. So I hope that when US comes out of Sadhisati, we will say, wow, we really grew up.
You talked about US facing its karma. I wonder what will happen to Great Britain, because they've ruled 3/4 of the world in the most of the history of humanity. So, are there any predictions for the UK? And what about India? India has been leading on spiritual front, and now that we have so much of chaos, do you believe that this is kind of inspiring or causing the spiritual awakening in the individuals as well as collective consciousness? And what will be the role of India in that?
So I have not looked at UK's chart. I don't study it. I also don't study India's chart particularly. But when I go, since I go to India quite a lot, there's definitely a totally different appreciation for Indian culture now than there was 10, 15, 20 years ago, right? Like, I've been going to India since I was a kid. And I remember that, it was always a closed economy. Like in the olden days, I remember you couldn't bring jeans or even a camera. You couldn't bring a camera with you in your suitcase. And when I was a kid, I used to land in Kolkata as like a little hangar, like a little building. And this one panka was rotating and you're standing there and there's a wooden desk and a guy's stamping and you're waiting in line. It's hot. And it's like, it's like you came into a country airport in some small village, but it was Kolkata. And now it's gleaming, one of the top airports in the world in its design. Most airport. I came to Bangalore airport recently and I was like, I've never seen anything like that in the world, right? So India went from this very closed economy, just pining away for Western values. And so at some point as India opened up, Indians were enamored with the West. I want to wear Western clothes. I want to be like a Westerner. I want all the luxuries of the Western world. I want a place that looks Western. I want to abandon all the Indian things and just embrace the West. But Indians move so fast, they finally realize this is junk. This Western thing is hollow. There's no foundation. And now Indians are saying, no, you know what? Our culture is amazing. And now they're rediscovering. And so in the last 5-10 years, India has become like a renaissance of Indian tradition, right? So people are becoming much more spiritually inclined. All of a sudden, yoga is popular in India. Yoga was never no one's into yoga in India. Now everyone's into it, right? So little by little, India is sort of accelerating at such a pace that is reviving its old traditions and systems. If you go to an astrology podcast in India, it's like they're just, blowing up. Like people are so intrigued by it, right? And Indians understand it. So for me, I feel like India is like just roaring ahead. And the material intelligence and spiritual intelligence is very highly attuned in both ways. And so as Indians, if your audience are Indians, remember both improve your spiritual intelligence and your material intelligence, both. Because other countries don't have the ability to do both. Americans, they can only improve their material intelligence as a nation. Few people are spiritually inclined, but it's not the majority. Whereas in India, it's just there in the culture and the system and the society, right? So if you have a country where there's incredible spiritual intelligence and spiritual understanding and incredible material intelligence and material understanding, that to me is the unstoppable culture, right? So I feel pretty strongly that India is the force to be reckoned with. And right now, there's a lot of political differences in India. Is this a good government? Is it a bad government? Are they doing good things, bad things? Hard to say. but the progress is coming. If it took 4 hours to go from one place to another, and you build a road and you can now do it in an hour, that's what brings economic prosperity, right? That's why China has surged ahead, because they have infrastructure. They have infrastructure. There's no, you want to build a road, just tear every house down and build a road straight through. And now you have a road and there's economic prosperity. India, you want to make a road, now you have to negotiate with every landowner, every householder, because people have rights. Right? You can't just build a road through the village. You have to get permission. So that's why India is a little slower for economic infrastructure, but it's happening, right? And as these connections build and the economy improves, and India already is a massive consumption market, a growing wealth market, I have pretty optimistic outlook for India from my perspective. But there's so many Indian astrologers that are making predictions on India. Some of it, I think, is a little bit just sensationalist because it makes more views on social media. So you have to be careful with that too, right? What is your thought, Akanksshaa? How do you react to what you said?
Yeah, I think India and US both will lead spiritually as well as materialist. Because US, at the end of the day, even if US sneezes, the whole world gets the cold. That's the praise, because US
Right.
is still very, very influential country in the world. And India is a rising economy, and yes, so I personally believe that both of them will work together to bring us out of chaos.
Yeah. So only to add to that, I'll say only after US finishes its Sadhasati.
Yeah.
Because this is the spiritual reckoning and for America. And when America comes out the other side of Sadhasati, it will be a spiritually wiser place. That's when the opportunity might be there.
Yeah.
So, and we're all connected to these because we're talking about ancient Indian subjects in a Western modern way, right?
Yes.
And that's the big thing, is bridging. Like, when I talk to people in India and they go to the temple or they go to the masjid or they go to the synagogue or the church, they don't really understand what's going on. It's just, that's what my parents said I have to do, so I'm doing it. There's no sort of understanding of why is that relevant. The old thing I'm doing because I'm supposed to, is obligation, but there's no understanding. Like, why am I lighting a diya and giving it an altar? I don't know, right? That's what the problem is. But once you know, then you realize, wow, this is very sophisticated, and we actually need this today. Like, oh, lighting a diya brings light. I want light in my life. I light the light. It lights up my way, lights up my vision. I can see more clearly. That energetic thing is happening. So I think the key is to realize that the ancient things that you're doing because you're told you're supposed to do it, turns out there's a science behind it. Turns out there's intelligence behind it. But because of our modern mind, we need to know the reason. So if you can reason and find the logic behind why you're doing something, it's even more powerful. And I think that's what somebody like you is doing in these interviews. Is you're trying to bridge the ancient wisdom, but also misunderstood, to the modern conscious understanding of why we're doing something and why it is.
Can we learn more about your book, Astrology Decoded?
Yeah. So this is Astrology Decoded is my second book. My first book was called The Business Casual Yogi. And that was an explanation of the yoga system and the Ayurvedic system for people who are working and trying to rise up in leadership. So how do you use these systems of ancient India to make yourself a better leader? Then, of course, along the way, through all my coaching and my Jyotish journey, Jyotish opened up. And my publisher asked me, you talk about Vedic astrology a lot. The way you explain it is very nice. Would you consider writing a book on astrology? And so that's how Astrology Decoded came. And we called it Astrology Decoded, The Secret Science of India Sages. And my goal was to provide a book that is an on-ramp, a very, very basic understanding of Vedic astrology. Because right now in the world, if you say I'm interested in Vedic astrology and you look for a book, the books are very complicated. Like within chapter 1, you'll be completely confused. The average person, right? You pick up a K.N. Rao book, and the kind of books that I read, and then it's like, whoa, this is like, I'm lost. It doesn't make sense. So what I said is, let me make an on-ramp, a very basic, accessible book that for somebody who's kind of heard about it, okay, so-and-so talked about astrology, so-and-so talked about this ritual, what does it all mean? A very accessible, basic understanding of these Navagrahas, the 9 planets. Who are they? What are they? And I filled it with mythological stories because, as we discussed, the stories transmit the information.
Yeah.
So when you read Astrology Decoded, it's full of these stories that transmit the information of the 9 planets, their character, the attributes, and then how these planets show up through the signs. Like Mars is a warrior planet, but it shows up through Aries in a very direct way, and in Scorpio in a more hidden way. Scorpio is the hidden attack. Aries is the attack coming right at your face, right? So then you understand these different things. Then I give remedies. So on my website, vishchatterji.com, you can calculate your birth chart through proper math, Vedic calculation. So somebody can go into vishchatterji.com, put in their birth info, it'll create a chart for you. Then once you have that chart, it'll tell you what is your rising sign, what is your lagna, and what is the main planet that rules your chart. So now once you know the planet that rules your chart, when you read the book, you learn about that planet, and I give you specific things you should do every day as a way to keep that planet happy, since it's the main planet of your chart.
Wow.
So without having to go to a Jyotishi, without having to book an appointment with someone, you can kind of DIY, do it yourself, right? I like this DIY concept. I live in America. I fix my own things at home. I'm an engineer after all. So I want people to do DIY, right? You get the book, you calculate your chart, figure out what's the planet that rules it, look, see what that is, what day of the week that connects to, and on that day, do these couple of things. If it's Saturn's slow moving, Saturn likes it when you walk. Saturday is Saturn's day. If Saturn is the ruler of your chart, go on a walk for 30 minutes every Saturday. Simple thing. Make that lifestyle shift by knowing the planet that rules your chart. So that was my concept, my goal. And the book Touchwood has done very well. It came out about 4 or 5 months ago, and it's been just fantastic. It's already sold out a couple of times, but in India, it's back in stock. So if you go to Amazon India, it's back and available. So but for a while there, it went out of stock in many places. It hit the #1 bestseller in the astrology category, which is a big deal because it beat all Western astrology books.
Wow.
Which is rare.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah, we'll provide the link in the video description.
Yeah.
Okay. So I ask all my guests some questions like a rapid fire. Can I ask you
Sure.
those?
Yes.
If you were to explain multidimensional soul to somebody, how would you explain it?
A multi-dimensional journey into all aspects of our soul existence.
What is holistic well-being according to you?
It means you're tackling yourself at the physical body layer, the mental emotional layer, and the deep karmic soul layer. 3 dimensions at one time is holistic healing.
What is the ultimate purpose of life?
The ultimate purpose of life is for your soul to evolve eventually into divinity.
What is love?
Love is the experience of divinity.
What is self-love?
Self-love is recognizing that the divinity is actually within you. And everything you do to love yourself is, in essence, a vehicle to love God.
Okay. And what is your parting message for our audience today?
Parting message is to realize that whatever is happening in your life, it is at a level that is subservient to your deeper soul. At the end of the day, your deeper soul, your deeper divinity is above it all. And so I'll never forget that connection, that beyond everything you see around you is this silent witness, the silent soul that is above it all, that is not affected by it all. And so never forget that and keep connecting to that on a daily basis. So I believe this concept of sadhana is a daily time of day that you do every day, that you connect to your higher self so that you don't forget it in the chaos of the day-to-day life.
How can people connect with you?
Best way is to go on the website, vishchatterji.com, or I'm on Instagram at Vish Chatterji.
Okay, we'll provide all the links in the description. It's absolutely an honor and pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you, Akanksshaa. Namaste. What a fantastic conversation. Really enjoyed this space we created.
Thank you.
And namaste to all of you listening.
Thank you for watching and listening in wherever you are in the world. As Ramdas says, that we all are just walking each other home. So thank you for co-creating the new earth along with me and our guests. And if you resonate with me, do subscribe to my channel and do let us know how you find our episodes. Thank you so much. Lots of love.